With analytics and advanced stats taking over, we've seen some pretty drastic changes to baseball over the last handful of years. Analytics are meant to give us a better understanding of players and what's going on the field, and this insight has helped teams and players make better decisions and improve the game. But like anything else, it also has its drawbacks. One of the newer ideas that's come from analytics is the 3 true outcomes. That's strikeouts, walks, and home runs. And especially this year, one of the best examples of this is Kyle Schwarber. Drafted by the Chicago Cubs in 2014 and making his debut with them from 2015 to 2021, Schwarber played in 664 games. He hit 153 home runs, slashing 237, 343, 493. That's an 836 OPS with a 352 WOBA and a 119 WRC+. He was your typical power hitter that draws a lot of walks, but strikes out a ton and has a lower batting average because of this. But he was better about this in 2019 when he slashed 250, 339, 531 with an 871 OPS, hit 38 homers, and a 119 WRC+ in 155 games. But after a bad year in 2020, the Cubs chose to let him go, and he'd bounce back in 2021 with a career year, a 266, 374, 554 slash line, a 928 OPS, 32 home runs, and a 145 WRC+ in 113 games. This earned him a 4-year, $79 million contract with the Philadelphia Phillies, good for $19.8 million AAV, and he was a big part of the Phillies' run to the World Series last year. But this brings us to his 2023 season and the questions around a player like Schwarber. So let's take a look at Kyle Schwarber's 2023 numbers, why the advanced stats say that he's actually a pretty good hitter this year, but where we can see the problems with this when we talk about what you actually see on the field. And as we get into this, if you enjoy the video, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the page, and turn on notifications so that you get to see more baseball content like this every time we release a new video. So let's look at Schwarber's 2023 numbers. In 153 games, he slashed 198, 345, 473, good for an 818 OPS with 45 home runs, a 351 WOBA, and 119 WRC+. Now in this video, we're just gonna talk about his hitting because if you don't know anything about Kyle Schwarber, the dude is one of the worst defenders and base runners in baseball, which absolutely tanks his value if we're talking about anything like WAR. So I just wanna have a discussion about whether or not this dude's been a good hitter this year. So first, let's talk about what he does well. And what Kyle Schwarber is really good at is his patience at the plate and hitting absolute nukes. Out of 135 qualified hitters in baseball this year, his walk percentage ranks second and is in the 99th percentile, and his 45 home runs are tied for second in all of MLB, with his barrel percentage, exit velo, and max exit velo all above the 90th percentile. So Schwarber is one of the best hitters in MLB at either taking his walk if the pitcher doesn't challenge him, or hitting the holy hell out of the ball if they do. So out of the 3 true outcomes, he's absolutely elite at 2 of them. So what does this mean when it comes to his advanced stats? Well, even just starting with his on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS, if you're walking a ton, then your on-base percentage is gonna be pretty high, which his at 345 definitely is. And if you're hitting a lot of home runs, which gives you the most slugging, where his is at 473, then both are gonna be pretty high. So when you combine the 2 of them, your OPS is gonna be pretty high too, which his that's at 818 is well above the 735 league average this year. And a high OPS usually means that you're a pretty good hitter because you're both getting on base and hitting the ball better than the average hitter. Now, if we go a bit deeper into WOBA and WRC+, you get value from everything that you do offensively. And this is based on the average amount of runs that get scored every time a walk, a double, home run, etc. happens. So all those walks add up to a lot of value, and a home run is obviously the most valuable thing that a hitter can do because it's at least one guaranteed run. So a hitter that's walking a ton and hitting a lot of home runs is gonna be a pretty valuable guy. And Schwarber's 351 WOBA is well above the 319 MLB average this season, and his 119 WRC+ means that he's been almost a 20% better hitter than league average. So looking at these stats, Schwarber's a pretty good hitter, and a great example of why we see a lot of hitters switching to this new philosophy of either getting a pitch that you can drive and trying to take it out of the yard, or letting it go and hope that you get walked, and everything in between doesn't really matter as much. Or does it? Now, I said that out of the 3 true outcomes, Schwarber's really good at 2 of them. But then we have that third one, and when we talk about striking out, we get to the weaknesses in Schwarber's offense. His strikeout percentage ranks 129th out of the 135 qualified hitters, ranked in the 12th percentile this year. His whiff rate is in the 15th percentile, and his batting average is the lowest out of all qualified hitters this year. So while Schwarber is great at drawing walks, and when he makes contact, he's got a great chance of crushing it, when he makes contact is the problem, because he's one of, if not the worst hitters at making contact in all of baseball. He has those 45 home runs this season, but to go along with that, he only has 47 singles, 18 doubles, and somehow a triple that if you haven't seen it, it's a perfect impersonation of the Jack Sparrow run. But jokes aside, when your entire offense is basically just hitting home runs, walking, or striking out, how much are you really doing to help your team? Obviously, the home runs help out a ton, and walking all the time gets you on base a lot, and base runners usually lead to runs. But with home runs only happening about 3% of the time across MLB this year, a big part of scoring runs is moving runners around and manufacturing runs, and to do that, you have to put the ball in play. Even with Schwarber hitting over 40 homers this year, that's still only 1 out of every 4 games that he really helps you out. And then the walks are a more consistent way of producing offense, but it's not like Schwarber's gonna steal or take that extra base to get himself closer to scoring, and a walk's only gonna move a runner ahead of you 1 base if they're forced to go. With so many strikeouts, it's all the opportunities that he's missing to just put the ball in play and either hope that it falls in, or at worst, you get the guys on the base paths moving that are really hurting him and his team. So then looking at both sides of this, is Kyle Schwarber a good hitter? And I think the answer is yes and no. I know that's a total cop-out, isn't it? But what you have in a hitter like Schwarber is an extremely unbalanced hitter that right now can give you some value because he's one of the best in the world at a couple key parts of hitting. He's gonna get on base, which at least is gonna save some of your outs and could possibly help you score runs. And then he's gonna be near the top in homers, giving your offense guaranteed runs. And if you can have guys on ahead of him at the right time, you could get a big inning from one swing. But that big inning is only gonna happen every once in a while. And other than that, he's not gonna give you a whole lot. Being a mostly fly ball hitter, he's only gonna move runners up in certain situations when they've already gotten themselves into scoring position, or he's gonna strike out and do absolutely nothing to help you score. A guy like this is basically the roulette version of hitting, where you can win big if you guess right at the perfect time, but if you're wrong, you're gonna walk away empty-handed, and they always say that the house ends up winning in the end. And this is what makes an offense that's centered around this strategy either scorching hot or freezing cold, and there's no in between. For right now, the analytics are saying that the strengths in Schwarber's game outweigh the negatives, but it's a very hit and miss style of offense, and the problem's gonna be when he starts to lose some of that power and can't give you as many home runs, because then pitchers aren't gonna be as afraid to throw to him, so they're not gonna be walking him nearly as much. And then it's not gonna be long until he can't outweigh the weaknesses in his game anymore. Whether we like it or not, analytics are here to stay in baseball, and they've already made their mark. And honestly, they've done a lot of good for the game. But we can't let analytics make us forget about the actual baseball that's being played on the field. Stats give us great insight into players, strategies, and just new ways of thinking about the game. But just because they can tell us where the value lies in a player's talent doesn't mean that they should forget about the rest of their game to maximize those strengths. Kyle Schwarber and guys like him are a bit of an example here of when the pendulum swings too far in any one direction. And the best answer is honestly somewhere in the middle, where we can use stats to help teams and players get better without ignoring parts of their game. So let me know what you think about all this. Is a guy like Schwarber a valuable hitter? Is he an example of analytics taken too far? And where is that perfect middle ground for a player like him? Drop a comment with all your thoughts down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, again, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the page, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos like this one, and it helps the channel grow and reach more baseball fans, which I can't thank you enough for helping us do. You can help support the channel by getting yourself some Smarter Baseball merch. The link to our store is down in the description, or you can simply watch our latest video next that's on your screen now, about how Bobby Witt Jr. took that next step and started to break out here in his second season. And as always, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel, and have a great rest of your day. Later.